We're gonna go through a lot of the conferences, not all of them, because we just don't have time for that. You guys have about 15 to 20 seconds to give the analysis for what team you think will win that conference tournament. And just like a quick sub note, these are not official plays, or they could be, and you can tell me if they are. So let's get it started. Jared, I'm gonna start with you. SEC, who do you got?
We're on the same page here with Kentucky. So to me, it first of all, the draw I think is really favorable. They stay away from Auburn until the
Mhm.
final. And I think that's clearly the best team. But I think Kentucky, metrics wise, they meet all of the metrics. But this SEC tournament's going to be bonkers. And I'm not betting it, but it is going to. I'm probably going to stay away from every game betting the SEC tournament because I do think it's going to be bananas. But Kentucky to me is the best team top to bottom.
I don't know if I have that kind of self-control, stay away from every single game. But no, I'm with you. I think Kentucky does win. I like the draw as well because not only do they avoid Auburn, but they avoid red-hot Arkansas.
Yeah.
Let
Mhm.
those two teams beat each other up in the semifinals. I'm great with that. I think Kentucky's a pretty solid matchup for Tennessee in the semis. There's just a little worry, I guess, with Alabama because they're so erratic, and maybe that's a team that reverts a little bit to preseason expectations. But I'm
Defending
with you on
champs,
Big
right?
Blue. Yep, won it
Alabama's the
last year.
defending champs. So
Yeah. With
Mhm.
you on Big Blue, though. Too talented, too deep for this tournament.
Okay, let's shift to Big 12. Jim, who do you got for the Big 12 right now?
I'm going with Texas Tech. I'm thinking about betting it, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I just think Baylor's dealing with injuries, and it almost would behoove them to not win this tournament. I don't think they should want to play 3 games in 3 days with their lack of
Mhm.
depth right now. And then Kansas, I don't fully trust. The play down the stretch was not great. Even some of their wins were not sharp. Texas Tech has the depth, the physicality. I think they can win this tournament. I think they'll play like they want to win it too, Jared. So I'm leaning towards the Red Raiders to win this.
yeah, and I think it's the winner of that game, frankly. The Baylor Texas Tech game that wins this tournament. It could definitely beat Texas Tech. I was close to firing a Texas Tech Final Four future. Then they kind of went into a little bit of a dip, lost a couple of tough games, lost to TCU, lost to Oklahoma State down the stretch. Number dropped a little bit. I haven't fired off it yet. I probably will bet Texas Tech in the tournament at some point. The Baylor injuries are concerning. I just
Mhm.
don't trust anyone in the top half of the bracket. And that's why it's either Baylor or Texas Tech. I would lean Baylor, but if the injuries, if Jim's right and they want to heal up, and that's another thing to look at with these big high major conference tournaments. The top teams don't really have that motivation to win. Of course, they want to win. Everybody wants to win,
Yeah.
but seeded grit, gut to motivation to win is not quite there like it is with the mid majors or lower seeded high major teams. So that's where Baylor would probably trip themselves up. But hey, listen, they lost to Texas Tech twice this year, so it's really hard to say that they're going to beat them this time around. But I would say the winner of that Baylor Texas Tech game in the bottom of the bracket probably wins the Big 12 tournament.
Jim, how tough is it to beat a team 3 times in the same season?
It's not tough. It's easy. It's
We
easy.
talked about this
Go
cliche the other day. It's kind of easy.
Yeah, it's actually the data was that the team that won the first two matchups is 52% against the spread in the third meeting.
Oh,
So it's
really?
not like, there's some crazy shift back the other way. I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you see a team that's won twice, sometimes it's because the matchup is really beneficial. So I wouldn't be spooked off that by that in conference tournament play.
Mhm. What about the Big East, Jared? Who do you got? Because you guys are thinking a little differently here in the Big East.
I mean, this to me, this is the easiest bet I've ever made in my life. How can I not take Providence as the top seed that's getting 6-1 on the line? I mean, they're going to face either Butler or Xavier in the quarters, and Xavier is a shell. Butler's been feisty, but Xavier's gone into a shell the last couple weeks. Then they're going to face either Creighton or Marquette in the semis. Creighton's without their best player. Marquette just doesn't play well at home, although Marquette did smoke Providence by 30 earlier this season, way earlier in the year. I think we've got Providence in the final at 6-1 against Nova. There'll be a dog probably by 7 or 8, or UConn. They'll probably be a dog by 5 or 6, and then we get them to do whatever we want. If we want to hedge out of that. So Providence is just a tough-nosed team, seniors, upperclassmen. They got a great head coach. I think the number's wrong, and the Providence. I know we've had a lot of discussion about them this year. They've been disrespected a lot. The luck factor matters, but at 6-1, they're going to be in the final. I'm pretty sure, and then we'll deal with it from there.
Yeah, so I'm picking Villanova to win, but I'm betting Providence. I think Jared's points
Okay.
about the path are spot on. Everybody in the top half of that bracket is either injured or playing poorly. So
Mhm.
Providence is they haven't played. They got the final weekend of the season off, which helped them get healthy. I still think Villanova's the best team and beat
Agreed.
Providence twice, but the betting value is very clearly on the Friars.
What about the Big Ten? Because you guys are on the same page here on the Big Ten, Jim.
Yeah, we're both going Illinois. I just the odds for them are pretty solid too. You can get them plus
Yeah.
390, almost 4-1 in a couple places. They're the one seed. They did get swept by Purdue, so you got to be careful with it's not an ideal matchup
Mhm.
for them. But one of them was in overtime. They were close in the second half at Purdue before they got a little run put on them. I like the makeup of the team. They've got a big time playmaker late in games in Trent Frazier. They've got a dominant big man and a ton of shooting around them. They also made a run to the final last year, so
Mhm.
I like Illinois. I just don't really trust the Boilermakers.
I love
Jared,
the
what do you
path
think?
for Illinois, Lauren. So Rutgers and Iowa in the top half of the bracket. Iowa has to play a quarterfinal game or a first round. I don't know whatever the hell they're calling it. Um, and then the Illinois top seed one will get a pretty easy game in the quarters. And then when it'll either be Rutgers or Iowa in that's the quarterfinal round. Rutgers or Iowa probably. I like the matchup there. Illinois lost to Rutgers on the road. They're not playing on the road. They're not playing at the RAC or the Jersey Mike Center. And then in the semis or in the final, it's either going to be Purdue or Wisconsin. And I don't trust Purdue. And Wisconsin, Johnny Davis's ankle's a little banged up. It'll be his third game in 3 nights. So I feel like Illinois has the path. Does that mean they're going to win it? Again, who knows? These high major tournaments get weird, especially at the top. But I think Illinois has the path at the top half of that bracket to do damage.
We're shifting to the A10, and if honestly someone gave me $10,000 to put on who Jared would bet to win this conference, I would literally choose this team and just go all in on it because Jared absolutely loves the Bonnies. Please tell me more.
I mean,
Loves.
we talked about this. Jim and I had an in-depth discussion about this tournament last night. So they're going to face they're the 4 seed. They're going to face St. Louis probably in the quarters. They're 2-0 against St. Louis this year. I like that matchup. Then they go into the semis, and they're going to probably face the 1 seed Davidson. They lost at home by 5, but they were slight favorites in that game, and that means that they're probably going to be a pick 'em, or maybe they're a 1-point underdog, on a neutral against Davidson. And then in the final, they were favored against VCU at home. They were favored against Dayton at home. So when I look at the Bonnies' path, they're going to be favored in the first game. They're probably going to be a pick 'em or a 1-point underdog in the semis. And then they're probably, if they win, probably favored in the final, or maybe it's a pick 'em, and it's 850 at win. If you do a 3-team money line parlay, -110, -110, -110, which the average odds of Bonnie's 3 games will probably be right around there, it's 6-1.
Mhm.
So I don't understand how this number is plus 850. Obviously, the health of their big man, Osunyi, is huge, but this is a numbers bet. I mean, the number at plus 850 at win is wrong. Shop these numbers around. They're very different no matter where you do your shopping. But to me, that's just a straight numbers bet. They play 3 games. They're probably going to be favored in 1 or 2 of those 3 games. And I think plus 850 is just a bad number for a team with 5 seniors in their starting lineup that won the tournament last year. It seems like a bet I have to make.
Yeah, this is a preseason expectations thing again. St.
Yeah.
Bonnie's was like clearly number 1 in this league entering the season, maybe a top 25 fringe team for some, and they just didn't play that well. And the computer rankings and the analytics of them are why the number is what it is. What Jared's talking about, the 850, this plus 700, a lot of places too, and it's wrong. Like it's just is like the team is better than what they have shown, and I think they will show it. I'm picking VCU to win out of the bottom half, which is kind of a minefield, but the value, no question, is on St. Bonaventure. And like Jared, I have already bet that one. I'm with him on the Bonnies. So I think that's a good
Bonnies.
wager.
We're
That's
all
right.
in on the Bonnies, baby. Let's
My
go.
Bonnie goes over
Let's
the
go.
ocean. What's that song? What's the song? The
What song?
the,
You
the
lost me
Bonnies?
there.
I don't know. It's like a nursery rhyme. Jack or
Okay.
or
It's
Okay.
not a Chili Pepper song.
We
Is that
know
what you're
Red
talking
Hot
about?
Chili
Red Hot
Peppers,
Chili
but we don't know the nursery rhyme. That's so funny. Jared, it's okay. You can think about it and we'll get back to that. Okay. Right after we talk about the
Sure.
ACC.
Thank you for
Jim,
that.
you're on due right now to win the ACC.
Yeah. This one's another easy one. So Duke's coming off of I would say I don't want to call it an embarrassing loss because UNC is a quality team. But they were 12-point favorites in that game at home. It was Coach K's last game. That is a wake-up call for a Duke team that is young but unbelievably talented. And now you're telling me that they have to win 3 games to win this tournament. They're going to be double-digit favorites in all 3 games. In the final, they're also going to be double-digit favorites, probably against Notre Dame or North Carolina. I just don't understand why I wouldn't want to take a minus 125 and basically free roll it into the final. And then we'll make a decision once we get to the final if we want to bet, UNC or Notre Dame money line in the bottom half of that bracket. Could it be Virginia Tech? Sure. They'll also be double-digit dogs in that game. But I think the loss for Duke came at a good time. I don't like laying juice on a futures bet, but I think the numbers, again, wrong because I think we're going to get Duke in the final as a double-digit favorite.
Yeah, they're like pretty easily in the semifinals.
Yeah.
I'm with you on Duke. I think this is the event to bet them because that final regular season game had the Coach K implications and the pressure for a really, really young team that maybe got to them. And I think that could happen again in the NCAA tournament where it's like, this could be Coach K's last game. Every time they suit up, every time they go out, the young team is going to hear that. They're going to feel that. But this tournament is not like that. It is not a do or die for Coach K. He's not going home after this. I think this is the event where, like Jared mentioned, they bounce back from the loss. They're
Yeah.
better than the rest of these teams. They've had some close calls with some of them and a couple losses, but I think they're dialed in here. And Duke's dialed in is about as good as it gets in this league.